We are delighted today to be hosting first ever conference for the Green Industrial Strategy Project and bringing together a really astounding group of practitioners and academics, all of whom are focused on understanding this very rapidly changing environment around industrial policies that are focused on trying to accelerate the transition to green energy. It's a big part of the BIGS agenda. It's a big part of the Harvard Business School agenda. Not to understand climate change per se, because others will do that, but to focus on the role that business can play in being part of the solution.
About 4 or 5 years ago, I started teaching both our MBA students and increasingly executives around climate change. And I was really struck that the way in which we standard as academics have taught about climate was not actually really relevant for most of the practitioners that we interacted with. So it really came out of this direct pedagogical interest. When you start thinking about what these companies are actually facing, it's really about how they interact with government policies and the way they have an effect on them. And I came to the conclusion that we didn't really know a lot about that intersection.
The world has been going through a major shift how it approaches decarbonization. We were really focused on international cooperation on the costs of decarbonization. And now it is increasingly about international competition for the economic benefits of decarbonization. So that's moving the competitiveness of countries and companies in emerging green industries center stage. And green industrial strategies, as we understand them, are meant to develop that competitiveness. And that includes public policies such as the US Inflation Reduction Act or the European Clean Industrial Plan, but also public-private alliances like the European Battery Alliance, or lots of new corporate climate alliances that seek to pool investment or demand for clean technologies to scale these markets. The core remains this very practically relevant research to bring in postdoctoral scholars and doctoral students into these research projects, but also have continued in a certain cadence these events, alternating between HBS and Berkeley to foster knowledge sharing with the private sector, but maybe also have some more solution-oriented, more focused types of events in the future. As we understand the needs, this initiative will evolve.
The academic groups that work on green transitions often tend to remain in silos, right? Or speak to audiences that are already convinced. I think what is interesting about this event is trying to talk to the other side, right? Trying to understand their constraints, the opportunities that involved. And this way we can find common denominators from where we can think of green industrial strategies that will gather a broader coalitions.
You can't just have businesses, sort of working on their own, or you can't have governments like fashioning policies on their own. And you can't have civil society sort of sitting on the fence or, pushing, saying, let's do more, let's do less, without having the full information. You need all those three elements of society working together, pulling in the same direction.
Having the chance to get to Harvard and get all these different perspectives from the academia, from the businesses, is the best way to spend our time.
There's so much that's against energy transition right now that a forum like this, it kind of gives you an opportunity to bounce off a few ideas and then go back enriched, and that's one big purpose that I took the time to come out here.
It's been incredible to run into so many old friends and new friends, these wonderful colleagues who are thinking about these really thorny questions and trying to say, here's what we can do better so that we can create economies, we can foster economies that can be competitive, that can thrive, and can create good jobs for communities in the United States and around the world.